sometimes we really hate this project.
A lot of times. This is just gonna be like a venting episode because I don't think we're really looking for solutions. We're gonna, plow through, keep working. But we've reflected on this project now that we've been doing it a couple months, and there are definitely things that we hate. We're Josiah and Lauda, and we exchanged traditional comforts for a life filled with adventure, peace, and freedom when we moved into our van Paz in June of 2021.
Join us as we explore alternative ways of living outside the system. Day in our tiny home. We had enough rest yesterday and now it's very sunny and we are ready to continue building our walls.
We took a week off to go back to Pia Cuesta to recover. We were both feeling super sore. We rushed a little bit on the last couple days that we were here to finish the first layer of cob. So we have some things to fix up, but pulling the plastic off this morning, it feels really good to see that the walls are still standing, ready to get to work.
It's a beautiful day, but sometimes we really hate this project. I love the progress we have done, but I'm sick of just making those cob balls.
One thing that I used to love was being barefoot, and it's really hard because doing the mix of cob or barefoot, walking around on it, but then transitioning over to actually doing stuff on the tiny home, I should be wearing boots or some sort of protection. And so there are rocks that have fallen on my toes. My fingers get infected because I jam them or I hit them with a hammer or something. But my feet are so dirty that I'm not gonna switch over to boots every time I have to go do something on the house.
So I'm putting water in the wall in the first layer because we need to mix it with our second layer, and in order to mix it all we need the first layer to get wet.
So Laura just sprayed the wall with water. Now we're putting a clay slip. This is just clay with water, mixing it in, and then after that we put the next layer of cob right on top. I can get my hand wet and kind of mix them together.
At the beginning, I remember the first day, I was like, oh, this is so fun, and mixing with our feet, and it felt so good at the beginning, but then try to make that mix
1,000 times.
Yeah, sometimes 4 times a day, sometimes 5.
So rather than being under the sun at the hottest part of the day, we decided to do as many mixes as we can. We have a double batch here that we already did. This is the third batch that we're working on. We'll probably try to get 4 batches in and then apply them this afternoon once the sun starts to go down.
And also we need to make a video doing both things. The cell phones get dirty, everything is like cob everywhere. We're making a burrito.
But not the kind that you think. Having a relationship and also working with your partner is super challenging. I remember when COVID hit, I would go into the office every day and I was like one of the only people there because I needed to separate when I'm home and when I'm at work. We're camping on the work site. So I feel like I'm always at work. Even when we're not supposed to be working, I'm thinking about work because we're right here at the project. It's impossible to separate it. And it's the same thing with the relationship. We're working together, so then when we finish working, we want to switch off to like, okay, now relationship mode.
All of our conversations now are about the house. How many mixes we can do today, and I'm really tired sometimes.
All right, so we're having a little bit of difficulty deciding about the bed. We're going back and forth about whether to do a loft style up here or to do it lower down. Ideally, we want to do a loft, but then we want to put a window up above so we can see the mountains from the bed. The thing is, if we go higher with the windows, we're going to have to raise the walls all the way around if we want to do a circular roof. I'm not really sure how to do any of this, but we're just kind of brainstorming at this point, figuring out what to do next.
Josiah is a hard worker, and I'm not.
How she works. How he works.
Now that we are working on the second layer, I want to show you something. Like, this is the first layer we made, and as you can see, it has a lot of cracks. It's not perfect. This happened because we used pallets, and the pallets had some gaps. We had to fill the gaps with straw. That's why it's not perfect flat. But after putting this second layer, you will see how it gets better.
Doing the day-to-day grind, like, it's so monotonous, especially putting these walls up. Like, we've gotten to the point where we're just doing mixes and putting the mix on the walls day after day after day after day, and my mind goes numb.
We don't have to think, we just have to do the mix, and yeah, it's boring sometimes.
I mean, I think there are a lot of things in life like this where it's like, at the beginning it's fun, and then it gets to the point where you're just like over it and ready for the next thing. And I wouldn't necessarily say I've gotten to the point where I'm over the project, but this phase of the project of working on the walls, like, I'm ready for the next thing, for sure. So we use the straw within the mixture of the cob in order to have tensile strength. So essentially it's binding the fibers together. Everything's sticking together, so it's like a one-piece structure. And the last layer, we don't want the straw to show on the outside. So that's why we're able to use the straw from the rice, because it doesn't show, and we still have that tensile strength that we need for each layer of the structure.
I really hate covering the walls.
With the plastic?
Yeah, it's like a nightmare for me. It's like, especially now that it's so high.
It's pretty tough. It takes like an hour to put the plastic on the walls every day.
We commonly finished working on the wall like maybe 6 p.m. and now it's completely dark.
Yeah, I think like time management, and this is another thing I'm just kind of thinking through right now, but working for myself it's cool. Like, you know, I don't have a boss, but it kind of sucks because it's not like a 9 to 5 where it's like, okay, I start my job at this time and I'm done with my job at that time. We're not getting paid for this. It's just the quicker we finish, the quicker we can move on to something else. And so I find myself working so much harder. I mean, like, I worked hard before when I had a boss, but I'm working so many hours and working so hard, and everyone talks about like, oh, the dream is to be your own boss. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if that's true, because being my own boss, like, I'm a really tough boss.
Yeah. Sometimes Josiah won't stop working to come eat, so I have to feed him. I really admire that you are a hard worker, but sometimes I give me a moment, please. Like, just finish lunch. He start like doing another mix, and I'm like, I want to, I don't know, have a nice conversation in the hammock. That's another thing that is really important for me, like quality time. We are not spending the best quality time of our relationship.
We're spending a lot of time together.
A lot of time together, but not quality time. Sometimes we have to be creative because I'm so tired and I'm so boring, and we dance while we are making the cob mix.
I think another difficult challenge is like, we don't have anyone to blame. You know, like when you work on another project.
He blames me.
Okay, well, you're the only person I have to blame. And most of the time, like, I'm making the decisions. And so if something goes wrong, it's my fault. And in a normal job, like, you have other people that you work with. And whether or not it's their fault, at least partially it's their fault, right? Like, you're not 100% to blame on things.
We're using 2 pallets on top of each other for the height of the house, and then we realized that we want something taller.
Yeah, so we thought about adding a 3rd pallet, but we don't have enough pallets, and we thought about cutting the pallets in half, but that's quite a bit of work. So we're starting by just trying to use a little bit of cob without any pallets, just to raise it a little bit. We'll see how this goes. If it takes too long, we'll go out and get more pallets, but for now, we were able to do a little bit here, and it's working pretty well so far. Sometimes we have to get creative, and we're a little bit shorter than other people.
Let's be honest, I don't have your strength. I don't want to make an excuse like it's because I'm a woman, because I know that women can do very difficult things, and there are some women that are stronger than a man. But I'm not the most athletic woman or the most strongest woman, and sometimes I tend to compare myself with you, and I think that's unfair for me. When I'm watching you working, I feel very bad because I feel like I'm not working as hard as he is working.
Yeah.
And I feel bad.
When I start something, I'm a perfectionist, I'm obsessive, and I'm a workaholic. So if I feel like I have to push myself so hard, I think it's easy for you to feel like you have to keep up. But that's unattainable. That's a threshold that like I can't even keep up with. I always push myself for more. And I think it's my responsibility to communicate that I don't have those expectations that you have in your mind, and I get to also like be gentle with myself because I know I can be super tough on myself, and I get to recognize how it affects you as well as everyone else around me.
We have been spending a lot of time in this project and a lot of energy. I think that we cannot be positive all the time, so it's fair for us to talk about the things that we don't like about this project because we want to be real. It's okay not to be okay all the time, but now that you are released because you say everything that you hate, let's shift our mind and think positive. We are gonna build our own house. Everything will be okay.
There are so many things that we love about this project. This is just an episode where we wanted to vent because it's not all rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah.
Though we have seen a couple rainbows and there are lots of butterflies here.
And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like our